Let's discuss about ecosystems. An ecosystem is consists of all the organisms and the physical environment with which they interact. So on this case, this one is an ecosystem. Again, it's composed of all the living organisms and of course their physical environment. Today we're going to focus on the physical environment of these organisms. Let us discuss about biomes. Biomes, these are the regions of the world with similar climate, animals, and plants. So again, we can divide the world into different regions based on their similarities of their climate, patterns, animals, plants, and other living organisms. The first biome is the tundra. So this tundra, this is located in the polar regions. So this is the color blue in this world map over here. So this is actually the coldest biome. It's expected because of its location. Again, this is far from the equator, but this is found on the polar region. Again, this is the equator over here. The equator is on the center. And of course, the equator is the hottest or the warmest area because this area receives direct sunlight. But as we go away from the equator, so this area now receives less sunlight. Of course, pag less yung sunlight, then less yung heat. Diba? So less heat means less temperature. So again, this tundra are far from the equator. Therefore, their uh, the temperature here is very low or again, this is the coldest biome. Because of its very cold temperature, this one its ground actually has a layer of permanently frozen ground, and this layer is known as the permafrost. Again, this is the layer of the ground where it's permanently frozen. Again, it's frozen because of its very cold temperature. It also receives little precipitation or rain. Of course, pagka tropical, it's rain, pero on some areas, this can be snow, di ba? Again, so this rain and snow, these are some forms of precipitation. So it's when ang clouds kay balik sa liquid form or yeah. So that's in the form of rain and then snow. So this area receives little precipitation. So it's obviously less yung rain because again it's far from the equator. So therefore less yung sunlight. Of course, pag less yung sunlight, less heat. Less heat means less evaporation. Less evaporation means less cloud. Less cloud means less yung rain, diba? Because of course rain, it comes from the clouds. So again, this area over here, less lang yung rain because less yung heat to form the clouds. So, and because of this one, so there's a limited amount of water in the ground because less yung rain. So this area has almost no trees. Of course, trees, these are big forms of plants, diba? And of course, trees, they need a lot of water to survive. And again, there's less water in tundra because less yung rain. So obviously, trees cannot survive in this area. In effect, only less or only smaller plants are found in the area. For example, mosses, grasses, and shrubs. So only small plants can survive in this area. Again, that's the tundra. The next one is the taiga. So the other term for taiga is the coniferous forest from the word conifer. This contains trees that produce cones and needles. Examples of trees that produce cones and needles are pine trees. So this area have cold, long, snowy winters and warm, humid summers, well-defined seasons, at least 4 to 6 frost-free months. So on this case, there are some forms of summer na. So it has summer because this area is now duol gamay sa equator, di ba? Compared sa katong tundra na which is very far from the equator. So because of this one, so there's more sunlight in the taiga. So some trees can survive over there. Like again, ang pine tree. So of course, pine trees they can survive in a very cold area. So on this case, it's still cold kasi it's still far from the equator, but it's not that cold compared sa tundra. So again, some trees can now survive in taiga because now has more sunlight compared sa tundra. So, pero again, not all trees can survive in this area because again, it's still cold. Only some trees can survive there, like the pine trees. This is actually the world's largest biome. So this one is the taiga. It's composed of coniferous forest. It's so most of the trees there are actually conifers or pine trees. Next, we have this one is the temperate forest. So the temperate forest, this is also known as deciduous forest. So it contains deciduous trees. Deciduous trees change their color and lose their leaves in autumn. So this one is an example of a deciduous tree. So this has or this area goes through four seasons. So obviously, nag-change yung color ng dahon pagka fall, right, or autumn. So that's before sa winter. So of course this is example yung US, 'di ba? Of course we can see there the falling leaves, right, because they experience winter. The same thing sa Japan, right, and also sa Korea because again they experience four seasons, and then from there we can see the trees that are changing their color and lose their leaves during autumn or fall. Let's discuss about the rainforest. So, ang rainforest, that's the pinakaduol sa equator. So, ang rainforest, it receives the most rain of all the biomes. Again, it's because of its location, because again, it's near the equator and of course, pag sa equator, direct yung sunlight. So again, pag direct yung sunlight, then mas marami yung heat. And pag mas marami yung heat, then mas more ang evaporation. More evaporation means more clouds, and more clouds means more rain. So that's the importance of sunlight also. So it brings water, or it is the one that is helping the water cycle. Next, it's an area of tall, mostly evergreen trees. So on this area, of course, very tall trees can survive because again, this has a lot of water, and of course, plants need water. Aside from the trees, it also has the highest biodiversity. So different species can be found here. That's again because of the water, right? Again, it receives the most rain. So of course, ang water it's very important, or it's very important for all the living organisms. So all living organisms need water, and because of that one, there are many organisms, many species that can survive in the rainforest. So it's the rainforest because again it receives the most rain. That's the rainforest. Of course, in Philippines, we are part of the rainforest. So we have almost uh like we have like we receive rain and good weather throughout the year. Next, this one is the desert. So of course, desert. This one, these areas are the desert. It's the area that receives the least amount of rain of all the biomes. So it's not because actually of the temperature. So, di ba, when we think of the desert, we say it's the hottest area. It's not actually the hottest area, or it's not actually because I mean, ang pag identifies a desert, it's not because of its temperature, because it's very hot on the daytime, pero pag night, it's actually very cold. So, ang pagcategorize a desert, it's actually based on the amount of rainfall. So, again, this area receives very uh, least amount of rainfall throughout the year. So again, because there's less water here, so less yung water na available sa ground, then only small plants can survive here, like cactus, small bushes, and short grasses. So the same thing, tall trees can survive here because again, tall trees, they can only survive when there's enough water. This one is the desert. Next, let's discuss about the grassland. So the grassland from its name is composed of grass. So it contains only grasses such as the sword grass. It have no trees. The next biome is the savanna. So ang savanna, it's very similar sa grassland. It contains grasses, but on this case, aside from the grasses, we also have here some scattered trees. So this one is a savanna. Again, it's composed of grassland or of grasses plus merong scattered trees. Again, pag grassland lang, so ang grassland, it only contains grasses. So this one is the grassland. Pag merong scattered trees, then that one is the savanna. Then, okay, so these are the different biomes. Let's have a review. So what biome is this? This one is composed of trees that change their leaves pag fall. So this one is, of course, these are deciduous trees, and deciduous trees are found in deciduous forest. The other term for deciduous forest is the temperate forest. Next, this one. This area is dominated by pine trees. These are trees that produces cones. So only pine trees can survive here because it's still very cold here. So not all plants are adapted to live in very cold environment. So this one is part of the taiga. Again, the other term for taiga is coniferous forest. It's composed of conifers. Next, this one is very green, so it's composed of very large trees. And here we have a lot of clouds over here. This one is the rainforest. Again, it's very rich because it has a lot of water, and again, it supports all life, especially plants on this case. Next, we have this one. This one, here, we can only see small plants, 'di ba? Yung mga very short plants lang, grasses, something. Then, under the ground, there's this permafrost. So, this is a frozen, permanently frozen layer of ground. This one is found in the tundra. This is the coldest area or biome. How about this one? This one seems to be very dry. So, the same thing, only small plants can survive here. So, we cannot see here trees. Because again, this ang ground, last lang yung water. Of course, pag last yung water, then last yung plants that can survive here. So only small plants can actually survive here. This is the desert. How about this one? This is composed of grasses, but aside from the grasses, we also have here the some scattered trees. This one is part of the savanna. So these are the different biomes. So just take a review and please familiarize this one.